Hello, my name is Dale Wilhite. I live at the Franz Clommer in Mountain Village, Colorado, which is near Telluride, south of Grand Junction, and north of Durango, Colorado, on the western slope. If you want to find out anything about me, you can do so on MySpace, where I have a page. This here is about what will happen if the Muslim terrorists like Al-Qaeda, along with the Taliban, and Hamas in Lebanon, and Israel, so to speak, were to win the war on terror against the United States. I've told, and I've said this many times over, that it is possible for the terrorists, like Osama bin Laden, to actually take the United States. And a lot of people don't think that's quite possible. Well, yes, it is. All they have to do is get nuclear weapons inside the United States. That's all they have to do. They get them. You can get them in the shape of a suitcase. They call it suitcase nuclear weapons, or briefcase nuclear weapons. There's about 70 of them missing out of Russia, from what I understand. I don't know if that's actually true or not, but I've seen this on the world news before, and they're missing. But Al-Qaeda, which is, has funded a lot by Saudi sympathizers, probably do have the money and the means to eventually make their own. And if they get them inside the United States, you can be sure one of the number one places they're heading for is Washington, D.C. That's why I keep suggesting that the Pentagon needs to move out of Virginia. It needs to move maybe to Wyoming and have like maybe a 10-mile no-fly zone, no drive zone, no people zone. That means only authorized people can enter in and out of the Pentagon. And it has to be set up to where it makes it next to impossible to attack even with nuclear weapons. Unless it's, missiles, and that's really not much you can do about it then. It's like all of Washington needs to be split up. Supreme Court needs to be maybe moved somewhere else where they can be a little bit better protected, and so forth. But anyway, this is what would happen if our President Obama were to surrender to Osama bin Laden, if they were to sneak nuclear weapons into the United States and give us an ultimatum either to surrender or they're going to detonate these nuclear weapons in undisclosed areas. And I still think Washington, D.C. would be the first place they would attack. And this is if they decide to do it this way. They may just unleash them unknowingly or detonate them unknowingly without anyone's knowledge, especially when Congress is assembled and maybe the President's giving a speech. What would be a perfect time to do that? I know that. You can be sure they know that and have thought of that. Anyhow, if Obama were to surrender this nation to these thugs, and we were to fall under their leadership, you might say, besides the fact that every Jew in America will be executed, especially in the entertainment industry, they'll be dead. Goldie Hawn, William Shatner, Jerry Seinfeld, Don Rickles, they're gone. Larry King of CNN would be executed. Most of our military brass would be executed. Most of our politicians would be executed. Most women who are models of any kind, entertainers, singers, politicians, CEOs, religious leaders who have high profile anywhere would be executed. One thing that the Al-Qaeda doesn't like are women in power, or women that are equal to men. They don't believe in that. They believe women are kind of like behind the jackass. And that's so amazing how many liberal women in America here don't think that's so bad. Anyhow, women in America would no longer be able to work. They cannot drive. They cannot belong to any organizations. They cannot run for office. They cannot go to school. Any woman caught wearing blue jeans would probably be executed. Any woman caught living with a man would be executed, probably with a man. Any woman raped would probably be in prison for it, even though obviously it's not her fault. But they kind of look at it this way, that she was asking for it. Women obviously cannot smoke. And of course, any woman caught in the act of adultery would be, as I just said, executed. Living with a guy would be executed. Lesbians, all people like that would be executed. Bisexual would be executed. Pornographers, women in adult movies, any type of film like that would be executed. Radio personalities, high-profile radio personalities would be executed. The reason, let me explain something. The reason why people in high-profile, especially women, would be executed is that they need to kill the image. They need to kill the icon. And they want to knock off anybody that would bring memories of what it was like before they took over. That's why they must execute these people. That's why most entertainers will be executed. Even these entertainers who think that fighting Al-Qaeda is a joke, they would be executed. The same people, they would be executed. And they're so stupid, they don't even know that or believe that. All your television, radio personalities would be dead. You know, the Fox people at Fox, CNN, MSNBC, all these people at MSNBC that think this war's a joke, that these people aren't so bad. They're going to die too. Of course, most of them are probably going to jump ship and probably try to help them out, save their own skin. It'd be surprising to find out who would do that. Now, the only type of job I think women primarily can have is in the healthcare field, where they will maybe deal with the healthcare of women only. But that's pretty much it. Women cannot go to school. In Afghanistan a couple years ago, or maybe last year, some of the Taliban threw acid in the face of little girls on their way to school. Threw acid in their faces, blinding them. I don't know how badly they've been scarred for life. That's the kind of animals we're dealing with. This is the kind of people that Code Pink and MoveOn.org don't think are so bad. These are the kind of people that Osama Obama thinks that you can deal with. You cannot deal with people who are demon possessed. And the women of America better wake up, because it can happen to them. And we Americans cannot survive under Sharia law. I may not pronounce that right, but that's what would come to America. Of course, many of us are going to fight. There'll be a lot of killing. But a lot of Americans are going to die. And that's one reason why we can't give up the right to bear arms. And that's why we cannot allow Obama to disarm us. We cannot adapt to that kind of lifestyle. You know, did you know that you can't drink anymore if they took over? They will destroy every bar in the country. Women and men cannot really engage in any sports. If women here in Telluride think they're going to go skiing, they ain't going skiing. They think they're going to play racquetball up at the peaks. They're not playing racquetball. They're not going to be playing tennis. They're not going to be playing golf. Most of the men are not either. See, recreation is a sin to most of them, unless it's killing somebody or torturing somebody. We are dealing with people that are worse than the Nazis. And yet, President Obama and his thugs in the White House don't think that that's such a big deal, or that they're that bad. Yes, they are. They are the worst of the worst. They are worse than what the Soviets have done in their lifetime. And they've murdered 40, 50 million people in this world. Communism's murdered over 120 million to maybe up to 200 million people. And you got these idiots in Congress who are praising people like Fidel Castro as being a brilliant man. Hogwash. Anyhow, if anyone doesn't believe that we cannot be taken, you're wrong. Everyone knows, all our enemies know primarily, that to take America, you've got to do it from within. They're basically working now through the educational system and through the media to disarm us. You know, that's why we have all these commie professors in the colleges, and socialist professors and anti-American professors, to brainwash our kids into believing their own country is nothing but evil. They've been brainwashed. And that's one way to disarm America, is you bring in a new generation of people who think that this country is garbage. It needs to be disarmed, just like the town council or city council of San Francisco believes that we need to get rid of the American military because we don't really need it anymore. If we're invaded by a foreign army, their police force is more than adequate to handle it. That's how stupid the city council of San Francisco is. And that's the kind of idiots that are coming out of our colleges these days. We may get what we deserve, because again, we're playing games. We don't understand the enemy, and we elected a person who doesn't understand the enemy either. You know, because Obama is more concerned about our image than about protecting the American people. That's for sure. Again, McCain wasn't much of an alternative. You know, he wasn't much of an alternative. I don't even think he got nominated, but we can do better than all of them. Anyhow, for women of America, if they win, you lose. we all lose. Thank you for your time.